kind of a sad reason to have the guest on, but I'm certainly not sad to have on the phone with us a press agent for many, many years. He's also an actor and a writer. His name is Jonathan Slaff. And Jonathan, are you there from New York?
I am here, Dave.
Hey, Jonathan. Good to talk to you. Did I get your credentials right? Press agent, actor, what else?
Well, I'm an actor since childhood and a press agent since the late '80s, and that's pretty much the summary of my theatrical involvement. I have not been a playwright yet, although I have a project in development that might turn into a play.
Ooh, okay. And by the way, didn't you do a play? Didn't you act in a play last year? How did that go?
I did a duet for solo voice by David Scott Milton at Theater for the New City, and it was a very exciting, creative win for me.
Oh, good.
And I honestly, I'm still high from it.
Oh, good. No, and for college students who are listening, he just means in a non-chemical, perfectly organic way. Isn't that right, Jonathan?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure. Here we are.
My mood is buoyant.
Good. We are the official college station, so we have to be ever so slightly careful. Not really.
Yeah, I'll watch my P's and Q's.
By the way, Jonathan, the sad reason, really, that we are talking today is that a day or two ago, we lost Ellen Stewart, who was the founder and, for many years, the artistic director of La Mama, etc., a very important and major off-Broadway theater. A seminal place, actually. She died on January 12th, so it was 3 days ago. Now, were you the press agent from La Mama from at what point? Because I know you were their go-to guy for many, many years.
Oh, thank you for the compliment. Let me just make a slight correction on one thing you said. Although the title of the theater was La Mama E period, T period, C period, that doesn't stand for et cetera. That stands for Experimental Theater Company.
Oh.
No, excuse me. It stands for Experimental Theater Club.
Club, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, you can understand why people would be confused by that, you know.
Yeah, it's always been a problem, but that dates from the way that La Mama was established because the neighbors on 2nd Avenue were in a snit about people coming in and out of the theater. In fact, they would call the police. Ellen Stewart at the time was a fashion designer, and she was supporting a theater by her earnings as a fashion designer, and she was designing for some of the top suit designers in New York, and she had male models coming in and out of her workspace for fittings. And so the neighbors would call the police and say that a negress was a prostitute and she was having her customers coming in and out of the building. And that's the kind of harassment and resistance that she was getting. It's hard to believe that would happen in the East Village, knowing it as we do today, but it was true back then.
Well, no, it's kind of hard to imagine that neighbors in the East Village would have a problem with prostitution. That's what you went to the East Village for. But,
yeah, that's another funny, ironic thing. So anyway, there was no loft theater in New York at the time, and a building inspector was sent really to shut it down. But what his supervisors didn't know is that he was an old vaudevillian, and so he appreciated what Ellen was doing. And he said, "Look, the buildings department won't have any jurisdiction over this space if you constitute yourselves as a club." So that's why La Mama became a theater club, a private membership club. And you'd pay $1 or $2, and then you could come and see as much theater as you wanted for the month.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's the genesis of that name, Experimental Theater Club. And La Mama was because they're standing there and trying to grab a name out of the air right there on the spot. And somebody said, "You're like the mother to all of us, so why don't we call it La Mama?"
And that was that. And actually, the weird thing is they were a club, and as you mentioned, they did that so as to be able to function, to not have police harassment and stuff. But I read an interview with her just the other day after she had passed, and it said she would, even after those early years, from those early troubles, she didn't get along with and had trouble from Mayor Koch. What was that all about?
Koch was the councilman or something. No, he was the mayor.
Okay.
And they would bust places that were a little threatening to the status quo and arrest them for building violations and stuff. And so, for building violations, Ellen was repeatedly arrested and taken to the Women's House of Detention on 6th Avenue, where the Jefferson Market Library is. Today, that we tore down that horrible place. It was infamous. And now it's the most beautiful garden in the village, and it's right next to the Jefferson Market Library on 6th Avenue around 8th, a block south of 8th Street.
Oh, yeah.
So she said, but it was ironic that it helps La Mama find its positioning, so in a way, by suppressing her, Mayor Koch actually helped give birth to the movement.
Wow. And at what point did you, Jonathan Slaff, start working with for La Mama?
I had come back from California in 1987, and my parents were sick, and I didn't want to go back to California. I wanted to stay close to home, but I needed to earn a little extra money. And my acting teacher, Wynn Handman, had hired me to be a marketing director for an Eduardo Machado play at the American Place Theater. And I got the bright idea that we should combine with Theater for the New City because they were doing an Eduardo Machado play at the same time. And I thought we could do more for Eduardo together than we could separately and competing with each other. So I went down and had a meeting with Crystal to try to work out some promotional idea, which we didn't get any good ideas, but she got the bright idea of hiring me to be her press agent.
Well, we're talking now about Crystal Field, who is the artistic director of Theater for the New City, which is
right.
in the same area as La Mama. Yeah, okay. Just clarifying.
That's right. And Ellen was on the advisory board of Theater for the New City and was very good to Crystal Field and George Bartenieff when they started the theater, and was a lifetime supporter of Theater for the New City. So anyway, Crystal hired me to be her press agent, and after that I spread around the village like a virus. And I was representing Ubu Rep at the time. It was a theater for French theater to be done in the U.S. in English translations. And the business manager at Ubu Rep said, "Hey, you should go down and talk to Wiki Boyle down at La Mama because I think they need a press agent and you'd be great for it." And Wiki arranged for me to meet Ellen, and Ellen hired me on the spot. She said, "The thing you have to remember is this is a maverick theater, and we will always be a maverick theater." So I started to work for La Mama about 1989, and I was their in-house press agent, although not they weren't my exclusive client, but I did almost all the shows. I represented almost all the shows of La Mama from there until the middle of 2005, so it was 15 and a half seasons. Wow. I still represent a whole lot of shows at La Mama because after Ellen had a financial setback and couldn't keep me on full time, which was actually great for both of us. And but she always wanted me to be around, and La Mama has always wanted me to represent a lot of their shows, especially the unique ones and the interdisciplinary ones and the hard-to-position ones. So I'm still like a member of the family.
Can I ask, over the years that you've represented La Mama, what were some of the standout productions that you saw and did the PR for? And anything that was really memorable?
Yeah, well, I'll never get over three particular seasons. One was right as soon as I got there, I managed to launch John Moran in the Ridge Theater. John Moran did Jack Benny,
right.
And it was such a hit. And that kind of, and that was a big boost for the Ridge Theater as well. The director Bob McGrath, and maybe that season or the season after, we did a couple of shows by Tadeusz Kantor, the great Polish director. Today is My Birthday. It was his final show. He had just died rehearsing it, and he died while the show was in dress, and they came to La Mama to do the world debut as a testimonial to. And of course, it was a testimonial to Tadeusz Kantor, and we did it in a double bill with Today is My Birthday. and that was awesome. That was awe-inspiring. I think it was the following season or soon thereafter we had an incredible season, and what stands out in my mind is John Moran's play Everyday Newt Berman, which won the Obie.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Split Britches and Blue Lips did a version of Tennessee Williams. What's the one with Blanche?
Streetcar Named Desire.
Streetcar Named Desire was incredible, and I was the press agent for John Kelly, who did his play about Egon Schiele, Past the Blutwurstbitte, which was actually just revived at La Mama this year. And the biggest thing of all was that I was the press agent for the original production of the La Mama production of Blue Man Group's Tubes. And Blue Man Group that year...
Well, I'm sorry, didn't Blue Man... Because I remember seeing it when it was at Lincoln Center Serious Fun. Was it at La Mama first?
No, they were noodling around with it, but they never really had figured out their formula, and they pretty much got it together under the tutelage of La Mama, working with the La Mama crew and the La Mama staff, and that production was designed for the club at La Mama.
Oh my gosh.
They also noodled around a little bit at PS 122, and they tried to do it as an outdoor show, which was like a rope lines to nowhere in Central Park. But the production coalesced at La Mama, and we extended it. It ran like crazy. And the funniest thing was the way they got the New York Times review. I was really not, that... I wouldn't say that I was a powerful press agent at the time. I didn't really know everybody, but I did have Stephen Holden's home number, and he was writing for the Times, but he had just gotten moved off the theater beat. However, he was doing a kind of a pop culture column, and I called Stephen Holden on the phone, and I said, Stephen, these guys are getting ignored all over the place. Please come and cover it if you can. And he said, well, the funny thing is I just got a cancellation, so I'll come down tonight.
Oh, wow.
And he came, and of course we had no pictures because the guys were camera shy. They're always worried about what would happen if anybody knew who was behind those blue faces. But I had, I had taken to photographing the shows myself, and I was leaning against the brick wall in the second floor club of La Mama, and I remember that moment that shutter snapped when I got that picture that ran over a 2-column article in the Times. They never were actually reviewed that season. They were just covered in Stephen Holden's column. And that review came out in a couple days, and wham.
Well, yeah.
Blue Man Group was made, Off-Broadway was changed, and La Mama had its chorus line.
So does La Mama still reap the benefits of the fact that Blue Man is still running and making money all over the world? Or did you not have that kind of deal?
Not at the level that they were in the past.
Mm. So wait, the longer it runs, the less they make, but they still get a little bit of residual? Is that how it kind of works, or?
Yeah, there was a bump in the road when Blue Man Group dropped them, but then they restored them, although at a lower level than they had before.
Oh, but all right, but at least they're still, they help develop the thing. It's kind of nice that they've got that.
I'm not privy to what the actual deal is, what the actual royalty is, but it's not significant compared to what it was before.
But I'm sure, at least for a few years, that a show like Blue Man Group allows La Mama to continue doing what it does, which is huge.
Yes, it was tremendously helpful. And when they ran into that bump in the road with those Blue Man royalties, that's when Ellen couldn't afford to keep me in-house anymore.
And well, let me ask. Ellen Stewart was quite a marvelous character and indomitable spirit. Did she stay at the fair too long, do you think? Or would La Mama have progressed further had she maybe retired 10, 15 years ago?
No, absolutely not, because the thing that makes the theater tick was the artist's own relationship with La Mama, with Ellen. I mean, a theater is not an entity unto itself. A theater is a kind of a fiefdom with a regent at the top. and it runs on loyalty, and people have to be loyal to a certain person. Someone has to be accepted as who's in charge to make the decisions, both the aesthetic decisions and the business decisions. And I've never seen an arts organization that could work on any other basis, not if it was going to do important work.
So, knowing that, does that bode ill for the future of La Mama, since Mama's gone?
No, because they've already started making some programming changes aimed at expanding the number of people the number of artists that they can serve. They are going to be, for example, it had gotten a little predictable with the companies that would come back year after year, and now they're going to be coming back. They're going to be very welcome, but they're probably going to be doing like every other season instead of every season, and they're going to open up more producing opportunities for new artists and new companies. And from what I can tell about the programming structure that they're going to be following, I think that it will just make La Mama even more dynamic than it was in the past.
Oh, cool. Because I have to figure
everything will be. I think everything will continue on Ellen Stewart's philosophy and the spirit of La Mama. You can't kill, not now. And everybody who's there, who's going to be Mia Yu is going to be taking over the theater. She was Ellen's chosen successor, and Ellen groomed her for more than 10 years.
But Jonathan just said Mia Yu, not me or you, because neither of us is actually
Mia Yu.
Yeah.
Yoo. That's a Korean name.
Right. Is she related? Because I think La Mama has a son or a cousin who's Korean, or last name is Yu. I was looking on one of the obits. Is that a relative of some sort? Or not?
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. I don't know who you might be referring to.
Which you I might be referring to. But anywho, but one thing, when you were press agent for them, especially in the 80s and 90s, was it tough to get the critics, especially the major critics, to come down to La Mama, because they kind of figured, A, the runs were usually very short, B, it was off-Broadway, C, they were doing international companies that weren't, didn't have a lot of PR behind them. Did you have a difficult road to hoe as opposed to the people from Manhattan Theater Club or Playwrights Horizons or Circle Rep, if we go back that far?
Oh, absolutely. You put your finger on it exactly. It was a much more difficult job for me than it ever was for those guys. The short runs, as you pointed out in the first thing you said, the short runs are the biggest handicap. If you look at the mathematics, you can even see why. If you have a 2-week run, you only have one combination of circumstances in which a major review can appear in a newspaper. That is, if the reviewer comes in the first week, and the review can run in the second week.
Yeah, then it's over.
Because a newspaper doesn't turn around a review in 5 minutes. It takes a day or so, a couple of days. So generally, you have weekend performances. The reviewer comes on a Thursday or Friday, maybe a Saturday, and then the review is generally scheduled the Tuesday of the following week or later. Now, if you have a 3-week run, look at the difference. The reviewer can come in the first week or the second week, and the review can run in the second week or the third week. So by the laws of probability, you have 4 more combinations of schedules that can work for the play than you do with a 2-week run. Now, Ellen only wanted to serve as many artists as she possibly could, so what happened was, as La Mama was steaming along and she had a very good staff working there, we were able to support the throughput, put the shows in and take them down, put the next show in. So La Mama was evolving into a place with 2-week runs. And as the schedule got more and more that way, we were running into that hardship of getting any shows their recognition. So finally I spoke to Ellen, and I was able to explain her, and I was able to get through to her that the 2-week runs were killing us, and then she went back to having primarily 3-week runs.
Oh, okay. But even
that made it a lot. That made it a lot easier.
Yeah, but even then, even with a 3-week run, if you're in a busy season on and off Broadway, you still have to convince the critic to, eschew whatever else he or she was going to do that week and make sure to get down to La Mama to catch stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you're under tremendous pressure to get audience and reviews in the first week. So a short-run producer is in a very different situation from a producer of long runs. Everything is aimed at getting the early audience. One before is worth two after.
Huh. Oh, that's interesting. One before is worth two after. I hadn't heard that.
Well, we're talking because you need to make word of mouth, and you can't get word of mouth for people that came to see the show in its closing week.
Yeah, that's very true. We're talking with Jonathan Slaff, who is a press agent and has been press agent for La Mama Experimental Theater Club for many years. He's still partial or part-time press agent for them and was full-time for them for about 15 years. And in our closing minutes together, Jonathan, I want to ask you about some anecdotes or personal recollections specifically of Ellen Stewart, the founder of La Mama, who died a couple of days ago at the age of 91. Any thoughts on her?
Yeah, Ellen was actually psychic. And she could read tea leaves practically. And once you got to know her, you learned to trust that. If anything she didn't make any sense, you just had to accept that Ellen was psychic, and whatever she was doing was generally for the best. Okay. A playwright would come to her and he'd say, "I'm jammed, I can't finish this script, I don't know what the problem is," and she'd get quiet for a minute and she'd say, "Go to page 76, there's your problem." And then she'd be right.
Oh my God.
It was bizarre.
That's weak. And where did and one of the things that I did enjoy, even in the later years when I did get down to La Mama, sometimes it was actually more memorable than the play I would see. But she would come out, even though she was older and getting kind of frail, and start the show with a little speech, and she would ring a bell. Where did that come from?
That was how she started the plays when La Mama started on 2nd Avenue. It was a tradition that she never wanted to give up, that she would announce the plays. Early in La Mama's history, they didn't have any lights or anything, and a lot of plays that were written for La Mama would start with an actor standing on a bed, because you used to have to stand on the bed to screw the light into the fixture at the middle of the playing area to start the play.
Wow.
So, yeah, there were a lot of plays that originated at La Mama with a person standing on a bed, because that's how you could start your play.
And one thing I neglected to do is to mention some of the people in the early years of La Mama who developed there, who were nourished there. I mean, I can list Robert De Niro, Pacino, Richard Dreyfuss, Bette Midler as far as performers, Sam Shepard, Lanford Wilson, director Tom O'Horgan, of course, who was a very important part of those early years, and the Mabou Mines troupe. So
Andre Serban,
right? Andre Serban, and who else? Who else am I leaving out of note?
Well, Ellen was always very proud of the La Mama playwrights. You left out Leonard Melfi.
Right. Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't conjure them out of the top of my head.
Sure.
But the La Mama playwrights, there was a powerhouse collection of literary talent in the early years of La Mama. And that was part of what helped make La Mama so strong and such a force in the theater community.
And there was an old friend of mine, an older man named Bob Reinhold, who was part of that fold as well. And never really was able to develop beyond that, but I remember he had a couple of plays there just around the same time that Shepard was doing his, and Wilson was getting off the ground, and all those people. So, and Melfi. It was, it was a major place, and hopefully will stay so in
I'm sure it will, David, because they own the real estate. It's not going to be able to... it's a permanent institution. It's going to be part of the city. It's part of the cultural map of the city. It's really part of the world cultural map. And you're only going to see wonderful things coming out of La Mama. It's got a glorious heritage to start from. It's got a wonderful community of artists associated with it. And La Mama can do things that other theaters simply can't do.
That is so well put. And I want to thank you for putting these things in a way that I couldn't, because you were so much closer to that theater company and to Ellen Stewart as well.
Well, David, you're remarkable because you have a mind and an intellect that's always made you curious about the stuff that's been going on at La Mama, and you stand out among the press community in New York for your familiarity with that movement and for your interest in it through the years, and you deserve credit yourself.
Ooh, well, I love this. I love getting compliments on the air. Thank you, Jonathan. Always,
You are welcome.
always makes me feel good. And thank you for taking some minutes out of your Saturday. You can even tell us, I think I just got a press release from you for something that will be done at La Mama in a week or two. What's their upcoming
Witness
show?
Relocation is opening a new show at La Mama on February 17th. It's called Heaven on Earth, and they're doing a new play by Charles L. Mee.
Oh, Charles Mee. He's the guy who did Big Love and Bob Rauschenberg America. So,
Yes.
And this is kind of a performance-y. It's not like a straight drama play. It's collage-y, is it?
Mee's plays are collage plays.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from a particular philosophy that he follows when he writes a play. He doesn't believe that anything is original, that everything is a collection, and he supports that by, for example, making the example of Shakespeare's plays. It came from, many predecessors before them, and then they've been refashioned into other things since then. So he says, since we can't own our ideas, we may as well accept that we're doing collages anyway. And his works are deliberately collages. And Witness Relocation does a collage of dance theater and more conventional theater, everything with the spirit of a rock concert and the energy of a rock concert. And they're a very natural place for Charles Mee. Mee came to see one of their shows at the Ontological, and he fell in love with their style, and he offered Daniel Safer 10 plays. He says, just take them and start. I want you to be working on my stuff.
Wow.
And this is the first one.
I've
It's being
never
done
seen...
in collection in collaboration with a company from Lyon, France called Ildialdi or something like that.
Ilde Alde, yeah. So it's Witness Relocation, Ilde Alde doing Charles Mee's Heaven on Earth, at La Mama starting February 17th. And La Mama is, as we all should know, at 74A. I love the A in there. 74A East 4th Street, right in the heart of the East Village of New York. Jonathan, thank you very, very much. Best wishes to you, and not that they would know me, but convey my best wishes to the folks at La Mama for their future and their past.
I absolutely will. Thank you for this chance to chat.
You betcha. Have a great Saturday.
You too. Bye.
Bye.